Yeah, Mike, tell us, give us the background to kind of eat up a couple minutes here while people are getting, it's right at 5:30, so we'll give them a little bit of time, but give us the background of Lionstone CPA, kind of how you got started into it, where the company came from. I know you own it, but give us the, kind of the flyby of, what got you to where you're at now.
Yes, that's a real easy story. So the gist on how I got here was that I built bombs for the Air Force, and there's not much calling for that outside of North Korea, and so I didn't want to go work for them. Uh, so I started looking at what could I do with my life, and accounting came up, and it looked like advanced budgeting to me, and I said, okay, well let's try that. And so I came to Murfreesboro because this is where I was before I joined the military. And the idea was that it would be a fallback plan that if I didn't do well in college, that I could always go and work at Barrett 50 Cal as a munitions inspector because I already had the qualifications. Turns out this was natural for me. And I worked for another firm, two other firms for about a year before I realized I couldn't work for civilians anymore and I had to start my own thing. So in that process, we had started Carter Financial Consulting was my accounting firm, my CPA firm at the time, and I wanted to deliver a level of advanced business planning, tax planning, and coaching and investment analysis that just most CPAs just weren't putting together. And so where they would do a really good job of doing catch up reporting, which is typical for what most people use their CPA for. I wanted to be a little more involved with our clients, and so much so that even now we're developing a cash flow process. We call it proof of cash flow because um, profit first is just too complex. Most people don't stick with it. And so what we're doing is designing an advanced cash flow process that is bespoke to each client. We're proving it right now in our firm, but we're also proving it with a client of ours up in Nantucket who's got a lot of cash flow. And this was all predicated on the question I keep getting asked, Mike, if I made that much money, where's it at? All right, let's go dig, right? I can show you where the budget leak is in your personal house, but once it leaves the business, people generally don't track it very well. Um, so that's kind of how I decided to get here. Now, the process of becoming an accountant probably was a good indicator of why I should have been an accountant, but I took the Fortune 500 CEOs, CFOs, because that's what I wanted to do, be in that position. And I put them all on an Excel spreadsheet with their college program, where they went to school, where they went to get their master's degree, and what program they came out of their master's with, and uh, distilled that information down. This was back in 2013. The highest number of CEOs, CFOs of the Fortune 500 at that time came from engineering, and that is not a lot of fun math. You put letters with numbers, and I'm out. I'm out of that. I have no desire to learn that. And so I left that option on the table, and the next highest was 5% at accounting. And here we are.
Gotcha. And how long have you had your own firm? I know you rebranded it not too long ago, but
Yeah. So I started this firm in 2019, January 11th, 2019. I had 13 clients. They were all single parents that we had. I think we were charging 150, and we still to this day charge 150 for single parents and retirees. And that's just no matter how much we've increased pricing, we've just always kind of kept that uh, just because it goes hand in hand with my faith, and there's a place in the Bible for that, and they helped me build the thing. So here we are, and within 4 months, I think we went up to about 170 clients, and then we got up to about 700 right before the rebrand, and then I let 200 go. So we let more than that go. So we're sitting at about 350, 360. But we do about 600 tax returns across 47 states. Most of our clients aren't even in Tennessee, to be honest,
gotcha.
which is unique because now I get to travel and write it off wherever I go.
Right on.
As long as I go see the client, right?
You stop in, see the client. I'm pretty sure you're the tax expert on that, so I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. Um, no, but that's good, man. Let me kind of preface this a little bit. I want to respect people's
Well,
time.
real
I also
quick,
know that. Yeah, go
Real
for
quick,
it.
Limestone, the rebrand there was I never wanted the firm to follow my name. So Limestone is a nod to Jesus as the Lion of Judah and the cornerstone of Christianity. So foundation of Christianity became our logo. Now, no matter if I'm talking about God or Jesus in a conversation or just wearing the logo, it all points back to him. So something bigger than myself.
That's awesome, man. I'm also going to need a hat, by the way, but I wear a size 8 fitted, so it's going to take a little custom work.
These are snapback, brother.
No, I know, but you'd have to get it down to one snap to fit my giant dome, brother. I'm just telling
I
you,
got
it
about,
ain't
hey, listen, I got like 20 extra in my closet. So if you break one or two, we'll be all right.
all
After that,
right.
you're on your own.
Yeah, so to kind of give you guys an idea, it's the first time we've done this. So essentially, why we're doing this boils down to God said so, right? So what it was is that I built a business. I built a business that kind of fulfilled all my wildest dreams and checked all the boxes I thought I wanted to check. And what happened is that with that in the mortgage industry, it kind of crushed me, right? And it my testimony includes a lot of anxiety and stress kind of through a period of time where I was having panic attacks. And I kind of brought it down. I stripped it down and went, I got to build this a different way and really started seeking the Lord. And there's a longer version of it, but essentially what that did is that led me to being in a great relationship with Tony Bostic. Starting in 2022, in early 24, he approached me about a conversation about us bringing our businesses together and partnering up. And with that, what that did is it opened a door that God had been kind of laying on my heart for a couple of years of building a business that sowed way more than it ever reaped, right? Giving way more than it ever took. Um, and that's what we've been doing. So we've set out this year. Our whole thing this year is to build the membership. Is we want to treat our people in our community like they're high valued members of something that really matters and something that's really bigger than us because you guys are. And this is what I guess this is the kind of the second iteration of it. The first one is that we host small business owners in our office, and we compel people with great knowledge to give it away freely to equip small business owners to really go and really go and build a business that can honor and serve the king and make the king famous. The second part of that was then reaching out to our clients in our community and going, hey, how can we best reach them? And this is the first attempt at that of going, hey, you know what? There are needs that we have that we're not educated on, and we want to bring professionals that have great knowledge and love the Lord and want to give that away freely as well, and just bring value to in that way. So that's where I reached out to Mike. Mike and I paths crossed through an organization called Deco, which really has the same mission. Yeah, it's equipping and honoring business owners that are fervently pursuing Jesus Christ and making a difference in the community. So that's how Mike and I had crossed paths. Um, and that's why I invited him to do this. And this whole thing's recorded, and I'll provide this out. But really, the heart of this is that it's February, right? It's the beginning of the year. Everybody's going to be filing taxes here over the next, just about right at 60 days because there's deadlines for that, unless you go the extension route. But there's also bigger than just filing your taxes. There's just budgets, right? The last couple of years have been hard, regardless of what news media outlet you're listening to. Things are expensive. Money's not worth what it used to be. Your income doesn't go as far as it went. You know what I mean? You can go broke buying groceries and gas now, and that's very real. Statistics, right? Credit card debt is at an all-time high, and it ain't even close. It's people are struggling. So, yeah, I'd reached out to Mike of just like, hey man, can we give away some information and just equip people to get to the end of 2025 better than they were coming into it, right? And I think the average person that I interact with is a homeowner, but for many, their home is the only real asset that they have. And they're devaluing it every day with credit card debt. So, so that's why I invited Mike here. Now, Mike, you had oh, and by the way, this is real casual. Mike and I are going to chat. This is not, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the guy has some really powerful slides, and if we need them, I trust that he will share them. But but with that said, it's like you had gotten into just like budgets, right? Like, hey, where's all my money at? Well, let's go find the money. So let's start there. I know the hardest thing for me and my wife was always getting our hands around our budget, and we got to really keep an eye on it all the time. It's a very diligent thing to do, and I'm still not great at it. I like to think I'm a lot better than I was, but I know stories of plenty of the people that I can see names popped up on this call, and I know that they're struggling with budgets too. So let's start there, man. Like, how do we effectively build budgets? How do we make sure that at the end of the month we're not going, what happened to all my money?
So yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest, it starts with just unlearning what you've already learned about budgets, right? So I don't know anybody in the world that when they hear the word budget, they think happy thoughts, right? It's
Yeah.
usually there's usually this stigma of, hey, why would I create a restriction in my life or feel like I don't make enough money to live life? And that's not what a budget is, to be honest. A budget is the ability for you to set intention on where you want your money going. So by the end of the year, it hasn't gone where you didn't want it to go. But the reality in our world is that if you don't set intention with your time, talent, or treasure, the world thinks it's better at spending those for you than you are. And this happens all the time, right? You go about your day and all of a sudden you get to the end of your day and you didn't spend any of your time the way you thought you would. It was catering to whatever somebody else's need was. And the same happens with our money on a daily basis. So most people get to the end of their year and they wonder where their money went. And the problem for a lot of people is that you get this paycheck and after bills, after utilities, after all the things that you need to live, the amount you're left with is so small that by spending it, you don't feel bad because you're like, hey, it's just this amount. But just this amount every month adds up to just a lot of money that you wasted. And so we never set the intention, set the goal of what do we want to achieve for the year. The goal is usually too big. And so when you look at it compared to the stones that you're throwing at this Goliath of a goal, it feels like I can't hit that target. So how is this going to hurt me by eating out 3 more times this month? Right. Or binge watching something on my couch, or hey, I just want to see the kids smile this month because we're not going to go on that dream vacation this year anyway. So let's just spend that money. Well, now you're not going on that dream vacation next year either,
Right.
right? And so the very first thing you have to do is you got to unlearn the negative association we've been taught our entire lives about budgeting. From there, I mean, business owners are the worst at this, and this is probably, I'd say, the industry that's really bad at this is realtors. The idea that Tom, it's merging your personal and your business budget. Well, when you do that, that's a really big monthly nut to crack, and so it not only are you walking into your financial world with all of the other constraints in place, but now with this overarching just burden that weighs you down, so you can't even be excited about the year to begin with. And I mean, it seems like I'm always helping people unlearn that process of just separating the two. The only thing your personal budget should ever show you or reflect is the amount of money that left the business to come to your personal account every single month, whether that be as a W-2, as a distribution, however that is. And speaking of that, you need separate bank accounts. The business needs to be a standalone thing that provides value and dollars to your life. Nobody starts a business because they want a job. They start a business because they want to accelerate something in life, and then they forget about that because they have to put out so many fires each day. And so by the end of the day, you end up with not enough energy to do the thing that you want to do. So you have to kind of reframe your day. You got to start in the money, start in your budget, start in your QuickBooks account or whatever bookkeeping software you're using. Check out where the business is and then go from there. When your business can finally stand alone, meaning it's not leeching off of your household income, that's where the magic really starts to work, and you can adopt this plan and really push things into motion that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. And you reach this tipping point where the business can take care of itself. And as you scale it up, now the household doesn't need to suffer for it anymore. So now we got to make sure that enough money comes out of the business to handle the household accounts, keep it on a recurring, regular basis so the household doesn't feel like it's up and down, up and down. Once you can achieve that, that's where we can start making real fun cash flow decisions But until you get there, you can't do that. That's survival mode for a lot of people.
Gotcha. Right on, man. What about let's take it away from um our self-employed, right? I think the same way that you can kind of muddy your water, Mike just ran away.
I turn the lights on.
I was like, I think he left. Well, guys, that's it. Appreciate it. No, but so like blending money together, right? And money kind of gets lost, gets convoluted a little bit when you're self-employed. When you're W-2'd, you've got these paychecks coming in, and honestly, I think the whole piece of direct deposit probably hurts more people than it really helps because money comes in and it just gets lost, and you're not being mindful of it. It's not accounted for. Like, how do we account for that income coming in to your point of going, hey, I'm planning for a bigger thing by the end of the year, not just trying to pay my bills every month, because if that's all I'm doing, then I'm going to spend everything else and that's all I will have accomplished. Like, how do I plan with my W-2 income and my regular paycheck hitting every other Friday? How do I plan effectively to go, there's going to be surplus so that I can, whether it's getting out of the credit card debt I'm in or planning for, future vacations, kids, child, college funds, whatever it may be.
I mean, that's the next logical step in that, right?
Right.
Beautiful question. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
I think so. Should have a button that says share on it.
It's grayed out, so it doesn't look like I've got the opportunity there. It says you need to make me an organizer or a presenter.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that. I'm not the IT guy, man.
Well, to answer your question,
if you want to send me something, I can share it.
Yeah, let me do that. To answer your question, though, that is going to be dependent upon how you build your budget, right? The process that you go through to make sure your budget reflects what it should. So as I'm sending you this, uh-oh. Somehow I lost your email in here. But what it boils down, oh, there it is. So what it boils down to is most people, whenever they set their budget, they go income, expenses, right? And then whatever's left is at the bottom. And then we're taught, for whatever weird reason, that you can you can shut off your lights in your home and somehow save hundreds of thousands of dollars on a 5-year basis, and that's going to really move the needle for you in life. And then most people find out, that was really just a waste of my time. And so the problem boils back to these budgets and how they're created. And so if you're looking at, and I'm sending you this budget right now, if you're looking at a traditional budget, everything looks like a need, right? There's no way to triage what's important, what's not, right? Because you could shut off let's say you shut off one extra light in your house a month, that's going to save you maybe $5 a month. But if you stop at Starbucks one less time, that's going to save you what, $32 a day? So we put as we used to say in our society, we put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right?
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
We tend to make a mountain out of a molehill of something that truly won't move the needle. All it'll do is frustrate you because it makes you it keeps you in that mindset of budgets mean restriction. And that's not what it is, right? And if you treat it that way, that's exactly what you're going to see. And so if you could pull up that budget I just sent you, what you'll find here is we've got several different buckets. And this is something I teach my clients how to do and to navigate and use this particular spreadsheet. Are you able to pull that up, Josh?
Yeah, it's opening right now. Okay. Guys, nobody joined this because I'm savvy with computers, okay?
Well, I just,
you guys all joined it because either I've done your mortgage or, let's be fair, it's just because I've done your mortgage, right? That's the only reason y'all joined this thing.
I'm just a fun guy to listen to.
Well, I'm not going to say that I'm the best at anything, but I'm pretty good at the only thing y'all have needed me to do so far. And if I'm letting you down with this, but look, I've got this squared away. Check this out. You guys are going to be impressed. I expect cards in the mail.
I'm going to send you a hat. We'll leave the card at home.
Come on.
The only card I have right now is next year's Mother's Day card. You don't want that.
What's funny is I've got my wife's last year's Mother's Day card. I found it, and I apparently never gave it to her.
That's tough. All right, so on this on this budget, what you're seeing here is the very top level, right? We're looking at income streams because that's what we want to see. That not the green area, sorry, green.
Can we just agree that this thing's like a budget on steroids?
It is. It is. So you're gonna be able to see your performance metrics. If you saw my personal budget, it goes back to 2016 using this exact same budget model. And I've got so many performance metrics for household income, it would blow your mind, but that's the accountant in me, right? Metrics that you would never even think to look at in your life. So as we look at this, we look at the income streams, and the income streams need to be every single area you bring money in. And it should start with the highest amount of money you receive. So typically that's going to be W-2s, business income. Then it should start going trickle down to your lowest income items. And that's typically going to be like interest and things like that. As you move into the savings component, we treat savings like an expense because if you don't make room for it, it'll be the last thing you think about. So when we're looking at that as an expense down there in the blue, this is going to add to an expense column, and you're going to be able to see the div that far right, the percentages. What that's telling you is that as a percentage of your income, how much are you putting in each of these buckets, right? So this could be your emergency fund, goal savings, IRAs. Thing I see with most people with emergency funds is they think that 3 to 6 months are really going to help them. Anybody in the world ever had an emergency that just happened to be the one thing and you just happen to have the money? No, everything hits at the exact same time, and your 3 to 6 months typically aren't going to cover that. So what I teach people is have enough of the right insurances in place that your emergency fund really just needs to be the deductible amount, because anything above that's catastrophic and your insurance is going to kick in and cut that off for you. So we teach people that actively. Down in the primary expenses, this is where you can move the needle, right? Or this is where the needle can't really be moved. This is just for you to live, right? On mine, right. I think I even have an allocation for groceries in here, because what's our typical groceries to have food on the table? Right. Then we have a groceries and restaurants and entertainment down in the secondary expenses. Secondary expenses, this is where these are what I like to call lifestyle expenses. You can get by having just the primary. You need the lifestyle to have a level of life at which you're enjoying. And so when I have people go through this process, we build 3 budgets. We build all on this spreadsheet. You have 3 different versions of this spreadsheet. The first is a bare bones. If you had to go down to just surviving, what would that look like? What would be the most extravagant lifestyle you would like to achieve? And what's middle of the road? What would you be happy with? And people find out they're not that far from ruin, and they're not that far from their dream life. And so I heard it said not that long ago, you're 1 key hire and 3 key decisions away from the life you want. And I believe that's probably true for most people. And so you just got to figure out what those are. They're going to be different for everybody. It could be that implementing a budget that you truly stick with might be that determining factor for you. So if you notice down here in the secondary expenses, these are all things that you can really save a ton of money if you're willing to, right? Your grocery bill doesn't have to be $1,200. It could be $600, and you just eat off-brand everything. Can I tell you, I never walk into somebody's house and I think I got to go raid their pantry and see how much money they make. Anybody ever do that? Anybody ever had somebody come in your house and just go through your pantry just to determine if they can figure out how much money you make? We make this mountain out of a molehill where we assume that these things are going to tell people a story about our lives, and they're going to be annoyed with that. No, this is going to tell a story of what you value and how much you're willing to give up to get to the thing you want. I tell my brothers, I tell my son, he's 4, he doesn't understand it yet, but I tell them all the time, the true measure of a man is the ability to delay gratification or to put off the short-term win for the long-term larger win. And so budget's a prime example of that. Many of the things we buy, we don't want. Society tells us we want.
Is this budget here, just so that I could kind of clarify on something that you're saying here? So where you said in primary that you actually put like a piece of grocery in there, you're trying to say that between primary expenses and secondary expenses, if groceries in both, you're saying, hey, just to have the simple meal, right? Just to make sure that we're feeding mouths, that's primary. That's a must have. I got to feed my kids.
That's
But
right.
then the secondary expense is more of that luxury is like that's what I
Oreos,
rather tell them
right?
a lot.
Sugary cereals, right? We're talking about the extra stuff, right? Hey, we typically have tilapia on a Thursday. Well, this week we're going to have lobster tail, right? Like
Gotcha.
that's where we can scale up as is appropriate for a lifestyle increase when you deem it necessary. Or there are plenty of people out there that love to blow every last dollar having a good lifestyle, and they're comfortable with that. I don't know what retirement is going to look like for them if they plan to retire, but and then you'll notice here next to primary expenses, I've got the date. I've got a date column there, so that helps you with your cash flow. So you'll know when these are coming out of your bank account.
Gotcha. Okay.
To your point, direct deposit is a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it frees up time. It's a bad thing because we tend to set it and forget it. And so the thing I love is that I go through and every single month I reconcile this with another tool, and I see where every single dollar goes. I know how much we're paying for streaming services. I'm not always happy about it, but my wife is, and so I just give that one up. We got to choose the hill we die on as men. So there's some arguments that just aren't worth fighting. But this is the step. This is baby step one to an advanced structure. This tells you exactly where to find savings and where it's not going to be worth it, because turning off one additional light in your house is not going to change your life.
Right.
Right. My wife and I mean we spend a lot of time showering, bathing, showering our kids, bathing our kids, doing all that, washing our dogs, running, all the water we use. And I can't tell you the last time my water bill has been above $50. Now, that could be a lot for some people, but for me, like that also means that by shutting off the water, I'm not going to save all that much. If I can use that much water and it's only $50.
Sure.
And if I need to save $50, I'm not going to shut my water off for the month. So that's where we start looking in the bottom, the orange area, and this is where true cost savings can be. So if you scroll to the right with that little bar down at the bottom of your screen, bottom right, little bar.
Look at that.
You'll scroll to the right, you'll see right here, and this is, I label these. These are expenses you must have to live and work, and these are expenses you may have and can manipulate if necessary. So you see, in this particular budget model, it actually empowers you to know where and when you need to start trending down. Now, if you scroll back to the left, what I love about this is I set the intent at the beginning of the year, January, February, March, April, May, right? The whole year, I already know what I'd like to spend in each of those categories. And then at the end of January, I reconcile what actually happened. Now, January becomes a tracker for my budget. February becomes a baseline of what I wish would have happened. So now I get to see every single time I log in how far off of budget I was. And I can either become okay with that and adjust the rest of my budget moving forward, or I can leave it there and say, hey, no, I'm hitting this baseline. This is what I want. But I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen and skew the numbers going forward. I'm living life accountable to myself. Most people have a spending problem because they're not living a life of integrity to what they truly want. And again, it falls back to that. It's not going to hurt because it's this little amount that's left over.
Right on. Am I okay to stop sharing this now, Mike?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So, come on. Oh, look at that.
Well, I gave up alcohol, but when I did drink, it was Woodford Reserve Double Oak.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, that was my go-to.
All right. So with all that being said, right? So with this budget, just so that I can, are we going to be able to share this with everybody? Mike?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Are we going to be able to share this with everybody?
Yeah, you looked off to your right. I had no clue who you were talking to.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I've got multiple screens here. So me looking to the side is just me checking other parts of my screens.
Yeah, man. This is a resource that I give out freely. We don't charge for any of this. This is actually the process I work through with single parents to help them manage their household. So I got to see my mom kind of do a really phenomenal job of managing what little resources we had. And so through that process, I saw how strong single parents could be with just a little bit of direction. And so we actually provide this process free, teaching our clients and single parents how to do this.
Right
so
on.
you give this out to whoever needs it.
Gotcha. Right on. So let's go to, we're about 30 minutes in, but getting to kind of the bigger things, right? You had mentioned this before. We kind of touched on it as far as like, vacations, everything from, we're going to take the family of 6 to Hawaii for 10 days, all the way down to, the standard. We're going to the beach for spring break. You know what I mean? And anything in between. I think that kind of spans the cost. And then all the way down to like concert tickets. You know what I mean? Like I'm here in Tennessee as well, right? I think I'm quite a bit closer to Nashville than you are, but like it's really easy for my wife to call me and go, "Hey, we're seeing Old Dominion at the Ryman at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday," and I'm like, first of all, I'm normally pretty close to asleep at that point, but just like you said, sometimes you go, "Yes, ma'am, we're going to go do that." But like, is that, in planning for that, is that just simply a, hey, if I'm good with my budget, then I'm going to have surplus left over? Is that a definitive goal at the beginning of the year of this is how much money I want to, or how many events that I want to free myself up to? Is it a percentage of my income that I'm trying to lay out there? Like what's typical teaching? Because like I know a bunch of people on this call that are concert goers, vacation takers, and for a lot of us, it's just, I think for a lot of folks, that's, they're trying to keep the lifestyle they had while their money doesn't go as far as it used to.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, before I started this firm, my nickname was Miser Mike. Okay. I didn't like to spend a dollar. I also have buyer's remorse, so I don't like spending by nature. It is just a issue in me. The problem is that wasn't what God wanted me to experience in life. And I felt him telling me, Mike, you got to learn to celebrate the financial wins financially. So what my wife and I started doing was taking these little mini dates. 3 days we'd go to Chicago, just me and her, or we'd go to New York and we'd come back, and it's a couple $100, but it was a level of happiness, and it created this strengthening in our marriage that we didn't previously have. And so when you're talking about when you're talking about anything fun related or vacation related, you're meant to have fun. You're meant to be on this world, on this earth, to enjoy the fruits of it, to enjoy what creation has to offer, right? To a certain degree, because everybody goes overboard, and that's a different topic. But as we start looking at vacations, there's no right or wrong number. It's going to be different for everybody. What I would start thinking through is, yes, I could go on 5 mediocre vacations this year, and I could be stressed out about spending money eating out while I'm there. And I could be stressed out leaving the hotel while I'm there and really not have a good time. And nobody else will either because I'm so stressed out about the money. Or I could say, let's consolidate, do one major trip, and I'm not going to complain about money the whole time. Now, everybody's fun factor is just shot through the roof, right? And we get to eat at places we never would have. And I got this rule: if we go on vacation, we don't eat anywhere we could eat in Tennessee.
Yeah, hard rule for me. Some of these people on here have traveled with me before, or at least one person on here has traveled with me, and they know the rule of we can eat at it back home. We don't eat at it here.
Yeah. And I have this problem. I like to judge vacations based on if the food was good. And so this is why I don't go back to Gulf Spring or Gulf Shores. Sorry. I won't go to Gulf Shores for vacation. It's just not, their food is terrible. But to answer
there might be fighting words with some people here, man.
It's okay. I like to fight.
You did open this call with your background, so maybe we won't pick fights with you.
Yeah. It's no big deal. But at the end of the day, vacations aren't bad. It's what you're supposed to do, right? We have this magical idea in our head that you're going to spend your entire earning years not spending money so that you can one day not have to work. And then when you're not making money anymore, you're going to be okay spending the money. And that's a 30-year habit for most people that they're not going to break the moment they stop working. And so when you set yourself up like that, you're setting yourself up 100% for failure. And you didn't even enjoy the journey along the way. For most people, this would be true. And so you have to create opportunity for you to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of making the money if you're never going to enjoy it anyway? Right. Now, again, There has to be guardrails in place for most people, meaning you can go as fast as you want on a guided road. If your car can't go off the road, you can go as high as the speed limit will let you go, right?
It's good.
For most people, if you set up the right guardrails, you don't have to slow down. You just got to make sure you have the right protection in place on both sides to keep you on the road. That lets you live life in a way most people would never dream of. We're all playing the financial game. Setting a budget means you're playing by your own rules rather than somebody else's. So if vacation is a part of that budget, do it. But decide if you want to save up for 1 year and have an okay vacation, or if you want to save up for two and just blow the socks off your kids.
Right. Well, if you go to Gulf Shores, to be fair, they're not going to wear socks, but I mean, clearly there's a food problem there. I mean, hey, to each their own. Tell me this, what about like you kind of mentioned putting the right insurances in place, and I'm going to keep this short because I want to get to just the fact that it's tax season, and I think most people haven't filed their taxes yet. But you were talking about the seasons of life. You had mentioned in there, you've got the emergency fund, the 3 to 6 months, and you're like actually just having the right things in place, make it so that you're really only covering deductibles. Are there anything in there? I think I think the average person has health insurance in place. You know what I mean? Typically provided by an employer. So, varying exposures there.
Let's take a pit stop right there real quick,
Okay.
because that's a great place to save money that most people don't know about. So if you go to a hospital that is a not-for-profit, like a St. Thomas or a Vanderbilt, and there are these not-for-profit hospitals, they are required, if you're I think somewhere in the 400% of poverty line, they're required to write down or write off your medical bill if you tell them you don't have insurance. And they will not advertise this because they have no requirement to advertise it. But if you talk to their HR department or their billing department and you tell them, hey, I don't think I can afford this, and I know you guys are a not-for-profit, they'll have to they're going to ask you for your tax return. They're going to ask you for proof of verification of income. But once they go through that process, they will write it down or write it off. And most people will never know that. So most people,
I had no idea.
Most people, if you're going to have not very good insurance just to have insurance, most people will actually save more money paying out of pocket and letting these hospitals know this. Okay. So that's low hanging fruit for most people. Once you're past that, let's say your insurance is no longer an issue, and now you're looking at the next level of insurance or protection. Josh is on here. Josh could speak to this all day, but I have life insurance in place, not just a term policy, because that's a waste of money if I don't die in 20 years. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about like a whole life policy or an IUL, something where you can have a cash value that can build up. That allows me to make sure, and I'll tell you, I use that in a way where I'm basically setting what I'm giving my kids when I die. And then I'm playing unrestricted in my finances from now till then, because I'm not sacrificing their inheritance with it.
Right.
You see, so this allows me to play the game again under a different set of rules than most people will. But if we're talking about what can help you in your near term, we're talking about short-term disability, long-term disability. We're talking about things that I mean, an umbrella policy would do so much more than an LLC would for most small business owners, because the LLC literally protects you in your business, but not from negligence of yourself. And if you're the only person in your business, you can't protect yourself from negligence. So you're going to be named to the lawsuit anyway, especially if you're performing the duties. So an umbrella policy, though, is low-hanging fruit for an attorney. Hey, we can go get this umbrella policy. Nobody's really hurt, and we can walk away and you get $1 million, and you're protected. But if you never get sued, that umbrella policy protects your home, your vehicles, your businesses, your personal life. So you have more utility out of that than you would just a simple LLC. Unless you live in Alaska, which is the only state that will honor a single member LLC and give you the same protection as a multi-member LLC.
Well, that's all right. So two things, right? The fact that anybody that's self-employed probably has more due diligence to do than just the basic LLCs. I mean, I know I've got LLCs established for various things. And there's the idea of like, even knowing that these hospitals have to honor the fact that, if that threshold, if that really is 400% of the poverty line. But I mean, these are just things that people don't know. And the reason that I point that out is, is the significance of, I think too many people sit at home and they go, well, I don't make enough money to really need a CPA. Right? I don't have enough assets to really need to talk to a CPA. Right. And it's like, well, the value isn't, I think we get this idea. And I know, I mean, this is what was instilled in me. This was always my thought, was that I needed to have a certain net worth, a certain, level of assets accumulated to really need a CPA to advise me on what I'm doing. And it's like, and what the truth was is that for me, it was years of making financial decisions that I should have had somebody advising me on those decisions, because I just thought I still had to get to some qualifier.
Yeah, the Book of Proverbs talks about having the right advisors in your corner,
Mhm.
and the plans of those with counsel tend to win out. Um, Most people go to a CPA to talk about taxes. We haven't said a word about taxes today, except you bringing up something being our tax deductibility of going to see my clients, right? Um, the real value in a CPA, and this is where I kind of find it funny in the industry. Everybody's like, "Oh, you should niche. You should niche. You should pick an industry and run with it." And I'm sitting here thinking, "No, why would I do that?" Because if I'm in a niche industry, let's say real estate, right? Who do you typically hang out with if you're in real estate? Other people that have real estate, right?
Yeah.
That that synergy there. Well, if you're having a problem in your business, you're going to ask your friends, "Hey, how should I solve this problem?" And they're going to give you the answer based on a frame of reference of real estate, right? Then you go to your niche CPA, and what kind of answer is he going to give you? The same ones your friends did. So is he more valuable or less valuable to you at that point? Less valuable. He provided something that you're paying him for that your friends told you how to do for free.
Right.
So if you take that component out and you say, okay, we don't have a niche CPA, what's the value there? Well, I see your problem solved by 7 different industries, 5 different ways. Here are the resources you have available. We have these 3 options that fit that resource model, and these are the 3 options you now have to fix the one problem you've got. You see it seeing around the corner you didn't know existed. And that's the true value of the CPA. And that has nothing to do with the taxes. That has to do with us seeing how businesses handle problems on a daily basis, how we see people handling financial problems on a daily basis. One thing that is low hanging fruit for a CPA that I just don't see as that them doing that often is a CPA is in a prime position to quarterback your family finances, right? Making sure your financial advisor, your insurance broker, your banker, everybody's on the same page, because it's all going towards this one goal, rather than, hey, this guy's got this idea and everybody's fighting for the same resources, trying to make sure that their plan wins out because their plan in their mind is the best thing for you. Not knowing that your goal doesn't actually include their plan, but nobody's talking across all these people, so nobody knows that they're heading in separate directions.
Right.
And then you wonder at the end of the day why all your money is gone.
Yeah. No, it's the truth, man. All right, let's put a bow on this thing. A lot of people are going to be filing taxes. Let's go with W-2 folks that are just filing kind of standard 1040s. Maybe they got something unique going on, but low hanging fruit here, Mike. Like, what is whether it's something new that's just different this year, or it's just a common thing that most folks miss? Like, what's something that people just don't even realize they're leaving on the table when they file their taxes this year?
W-2 employees are typically going to be pretty difficult to have like a robust tax plan. The tax code was written for employers, not employees.
Correct.
And so when we're talking about that, we're really maxing out the things you already know about: your HSAs, your FSAs, your retirement accounts, especially up to the match. It's hard to get 100% return on your money in the marketplace, but a match can do that. And so you always want to reach that. The thing I see that people don't max out that they really should is their HSA and FSA. FSA, if you've got kids in daycare, super beneficial. You get more than what the tax benefit would be if you didn't go with the HS or the FSA. And then the HSA, it's like an IRA that doesn't impact the limits of your IRA. And one thing that's guaranteed is we're all going to decline in health into the future. And so that HSA really provides that buffer to maximize your savings component, but giving you that free ability to use it in the interim to cover some of those medical expenses as they are incurred. Now, if we're talking about business owners,
yeah, kind of 1099, Schedule C's, single LLCs. What about that?
Biggest issue there is not capturing all of your expenses. So a lot of people have it in their head that until they get more advanced or highly structured, that they don't need QuickBooks or some other tool. Wave Apps, prime example. It's not very robust, but it's free. Wave Apps is an accounting program that most small business owners could use. It's similar to QuickBooks, but not as robust, like I said. But being able to capture all of your expenses, because I guarantee you're not tracking every mile you drive. You're not keeping every receipt. You're not doing all that. You whip out your personal card to pay for a business expense. I'll take care of it later. But what happens later? You're too tired to go over the things, and then your receipt gets lost. Or after a month or two, it turns into a white sheet of paper because it's carbon contact paper. It's not going to last that long. And so by not having some process in place to capture these things automatically for you, I mean, that's 30. If you're in the highest tax bracket, it's 37 cents on the dollar for every dollar you spend, plus 6.5% if you have a corporate structure. So as you can see, almost 50%, it could be upwards of 50% of your income you're losing just by not tracking that dollar. And so spend the $60, get Mile IQ, right? Spend the $60. It's a business expense. You swipe left or right. It's the Tinder of mile tracking. You just swipe left or right if it was business or personal, and you put some notes in there. It produces a nice expense printout there. Section 105 plan is excellent if you don't have a whole lot of employees or no employees, or your employee is your spouse. Section 105 plan turns all your medical expenses into a business expense for your business, so you no longer have to worry about the Schedule A or self-employed health insurance deduction. Now it just goes on your Schedule C or your business as an actual expense, as long as you work through that third-party process. And those are really low-hanging things that could impact households pretty dramatically. I mean, expense tracking is probably the thing I see most people fail at. I mean, I've had clients come up to me, hey, what's this $8,000 for? I don't even know. I don't know what I spent it for. Which usually, if you come up to a CPA and you say that, it usually tells me that it's a personal expense and you're trying to just avoid the question so I don't have to, right?
Right. You're trying to tuck that in under the business.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, but yeah, those are the things. I mean, having the right team in your corner also comes into play, right? Most people that will hear this will never have heard of that not-for-profit thing. Guess how I learned about it? By having a mom who couldn't get very good health insurance, and it was going to be expensive, and we had to figure out a way to make sure that she could get coverage or come out of pocket and pay. And then we realized, hey, this is much cheaper to do it that way.
Right.
Have the right people around you. Don't be afraid to elevate the circle you're around. You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Make sure they're on track for where you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. I appreciate you a ton, brother. I really do. And pray nothing but blessings over you and your family and your business. We will. I'll have an email going out tomorrow and a text that will go to everybody that'll have just Mike's contact information. I mean, if you need stuff, if you need anything from him, he's a great resource. He runs a great company, and the guy's just somebody that character-wise is above reproach. The recording of this, I'll get that out beginning of next week, Monday, Tuesday. That'll go out, and again, we'll have contact info in there for Mike. And we'll do this quarterly, you know what I mean? And we'll see what God does with it. But we're just going to continue to create a forum to give away the information that people need and don't have. And hopefully, there's people where we get stories back of how that changed or impacted their lives. And even in small ways, I trust that God's going to do something with that. And it's not because of me. It's not because of Mike. It's not because of Tony. It'll just be because, God gave us much and prompted us what to do with it. So I appreciate you, man. And what's up?
I just got one last thing I want to leave everybody with. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll see that I've got a little undernote or whatever it is, the heading or whatever, and it says sell knowledge, but give away wisdom freely. And that's a model directly from our Father, right? God said, if any of you lack wisdom, pray for it and it will be given to you freely. We sell wisdom, right? We sell the thing we excel at because people want to shortcut their path to that knowledge. But your wisdom, how you use that should be given away freely. So I love that you guys are doing this. And anytime you want to have me back on any other topic or this one again, you just let me know. I'd love to be a part of it.
Right on, man. I'm grateful for you, brother. Other than that, man, thank you to your family for coughing up a little bit of your time. And everybody have a great night.
See ya.